All right. Barely looks live. The dogs are like completely still. let's uh let's get Facebook up. Yeah. All right. Facebook's live. And I'm not late. What do you know? All right. So the dogs have been up here and looking out the window and going a little crazy. Sounds like they're going to keep it up. All right. So we're getting close. Unlike last week where I was all gloomy and sad. It was supposed to rain today, but I don't know, not now. Gorgeous out there. So I hope it's nice where you are. Spring has definitely sprung here. So not that it's exactly what I had planned for last weekend, but we are going to we're going to open the front of the body. Last weekend we folded, right? Got a little bit of hamstring, so hopefully your hamstrings are still happy from last week. But I also wanted to demonstrate and talk a little bit about how you can modify different poses. Like I had a conversation with someone who was concerned about their balance. So, especially being at home, like at the studio, they'll have props and things like that typically, or you can get the gym too if that's where you're practicing. Um, they'll have props for you, and you can absolutely buy them. Right? They're relatively inexpensive, either online or wherever, Target, Walmart, whatever. But you can change the positioning of your body. So instead of standing up, if balance is a thing, right? Lay down. You can put your body in the same pose, right? In different places. So I'm going to show that today and a couple of different things. And it's not just balance. I mean, you can always use the wall or make things a little bit less challenging when you are balancing. But if you turn your body over, you can do the same pose. So that's kind of the goal. That's sort of the direction to make this practice yours. Because some days your knee isn't feeling it, or your shoulder doesn't like this, or your balance is a little off. Maybe you have a head cold or something, right? So there's always a way to do it. Right? And especially when you're at home, feel free to be where you need to be, right? I mean, any class, you should be able to be doing that. But sometimes we get a little uncomfortable if we're not doing what everyone else is doing, kind of thing. So a home practice is nice for that, not only that reason, but that reason as well. So that's where we're going. Remember to listen to your body, obviously, is a theme. So let's get started here with the heels aligned to the groin. Making sure that you feel upright on your pelvis. So adjust your seat if you need to. Move the flesh from out underneath there. Prop here if you need to prop. And then use your belly, right? Sometimes we have to use our arms a little bit to hold us here. I know myself, I squeeze in here a little bit to help, right? That's my temptation, I suppose, right? But if you use this, you have to use the others less. So think lifting the pelvic floor, lower belly is in and up. We're tall through the sides. Right? So it should be this part of your body doing the work to hold you here. And your back, of course, right? But less in your hips, less in your arms as you can manage. So relax your shoulders, go ahead and close your eyes, and just allow yourself to be here. Clearing the mind out from all of the busyness of this past week, all the stuff we have to do later today and this weekend. Just allow your mind to be here. Begin to notice your breath without changing it if you can. Just gonna see what's going on. Are the breaths shallow or deep or slow or fast or jagged? Kind of noticing what's going on in your body. Allow the breath to expand. And keeping that full, just beyond comfortable breath. Keeping the belly engaged, keeping the mind focused on where you're at. Go ahead and extend the arms out to the sides. And on an inhale, stretch them up toward the ceiling. Keep the shoulders relaxed as much as possible. Exhale, bring them back down again. Let's do that again. One more of those. And then we'll inhale. Come on back to the top. Stay seated really, really tall here. Exhale your left hand back to the mat and give yourself a little tip over to that left side. Keep the pelvis rooted, the shoulders down away from the ears. And then with the next inhale, bring yourself back to center. And we'll switch. Take it over to the right. Same idea. Nice big breath. Inhaling as you come back to the top. And then once more like that on each side. So take it left. Maybe you can move a little deeper into that stretch. Back to center, inhale. And over to the right again. Coming back to the top. And then exhaling both arms. So come around onto all fours here. Find hands and knees. Cushion if you need. We won't be here terribly long, of course, but we want to be comfortable, right? So spread the fingers nice and wide. Wrists under shoulders. Nice even contact in the four corners of the hands. And then here on an inhale, drop the belly toward the floor. Exhale, round your spine toward the ceiling. So let's go nice and easy in and out. Connected to the breath. Moving as evenly as you can up and down the spine. Let's go once more in each direction. And then back to a neutral spine. So making sure the belly is still engaged here, head in line with the spine. Let's go ahead and bring it to kneeling plank instead of all fours. So hands forward or knees back, however you need to make that happen. Still nice and even on the four corners of the hands. The shoulders are in this neutral position. Your belly is engaged. Press down into the floor and imagine pulling your hands toward each other. Really light all those muscles up. You can stay on your knees for a little longer if you'd like, or lift the knees away from the floor, pressing through the heels. Still finding that neutral position for your shoulders, making sure your belly's engaged. Now you can use your legs too, right? That helps. From our plank or kneeling plank, we're gonna make our way to down dog. So hands and feet stay where they are, and we just lift the hips. Allow yourself to wiggle around a little bit. Shoulders, hips, calves, nice little stretch here. And allow yourself to begin to settle into it. So we want to press the heels down. They may or may not touch the floor. We want to press the chest back toward the thighs, head in line with the arm bones here, making sure you got a nice neutral spine, your belly's still working. Let's go ahead and lift the right leg. Keep the hips square for a moment and really extend through the heels. Keeping the shoulders level, let your right hip lift, taking your toes nice and high. Maybe bend the knee here if you like. Look for your toes over that left shoulder. And then we're going to release that. Come on back down, down dog. So let's switch sides. Go ahead and lift the left leg. Again, hip square for a moment just to get that little extra stretch. And then go ahead and allow your left hip to open, bending at the knee. Keeping the shoulders square, the chest pressing back, that right heel reaching for the floor. And then release it. Back to down dog. Let's go ahead and drop on down to the knees and take a little child's pose. Maybe open up your knees here a little bit. You can have your hands back by your heels. Maybe the knees are open or the hips are not quite as deep. Remember, this is your pose. Make it comfortable. Ideally, child's pose should be the place where you want to go to rest. And if it's not, modify it somehow. Maybe you put a cushion underneath your belly. Take another breath here. And then go ahead and lift yourself back into down dog. From this down dog, we're going to step the right foot forward and come to a lunge. Dropping the back knee. Let's wiggle around into the hips a little bit. And then find center. So imagine sweeping the legs toward each other. The hips are square. You've got this nice knee ankle alignment, right? Let's take the right leg straighter. Working into that hamstring or hamstrings. Shoulders are back, belly is in. And then we'll bend back into the knee. Sink into the hips, extend out the crown of your head here. Shoulders are down. Let's bring the right hand to the hip. And we're going to rotate around, belly toward the thigh. Think turning your side ribs toward the ceiling, taking the shoulder back, stacking the right shoulder on top of the left shoulder-ish. We're going to release that twist. Take the leg straight again. And maybe add something that makes it a little more challenging. So maybe it's a deeper fold. Maybe the leg is just finely straight. Watch that you don't hyperextend the knee. You flex the foot back. And then bend back into the knee. Keep the hips level. Climb up on the thigh, lifting your upper body a little bit more vertical. So sinking into the hips, lifting the chest. And you can hang on. You can even sort of press away to open up a little bit more toward the ceiling. Maybe take the fingers and interlace them behind the lower back or pulling the shoulders together, stretching the knuckles back toward that left heel. Gently looking up, keeping the back of the neck long. We're gonna release all that. Make our way back to down dog. And then we're gonna take the second side. So bring the left foot forward. Take your time getting your toes up there, dropping the back knee, wiggling around into the hips a bit. And then find your center. So imagine pulling toward each other. Take that left leg straight, straightish, straighter. Shoulders are back, making sure the spine is in that neutral position. And then just find the stretch. Bend into the knee. Keeping the hips nice and low and square. Spine long, bring the left hand to the hip. And then we'll rotate around into our twist. Releasing that twist. Take the left leg straight again. Finding that little bit deeper stretch. And then bending back at the knee. Sinking maybe a little lower into the hips. Keep them square though as you climb up. Lifting the upper body. Take your time here. Watch as your pose develops. Pressing away with the arms, interlacing the fingers, maybe opening into cactus arms or arms alongside the ears. Just kind of play with what feels good. Protecting the back of the neck. Big full breaths. Let's go ahead and release it. And we'll make our way back to our down dog. Just allow yourself to wiggle a little bit. From here, we'll walk the feet forward and come to the standing fold. Let's go ahead and open the feet a little bit wider than normal. Toes are pointing forward here. We're just gonna be loose like a rag doll. So relax your shoulders, let them kind of fall up by your ears here. You can grab opposite elbow, maybe have a bend in the knees and sway a little bit. Let your head go. Release the arms, walk your hands over to the right, maybe a little bend in the knee, let your weight shift. Coming back through the center, take it over to the left. Back to the middle again, and let's open the feet a step wider. Or half a step. Your knees need to stay a little bit bent. Allow that. Toes point forward, pressing down into the floor. Shoulders are back this time. So again, if the knees need to be a little bent or you need to use props or your shins, then that's where it's at. Same idea though, we're gonna take the hands and walk them to the right. This time, try not to let the body shift. Staying center with the lower body and just moving the upper body. Coming back to the middle, take the second side. Let's come back to that center again and open the feet a step wider. or half a step, right? So listen to where you're at, you know. Press down into the floor. Legs are straight if you can make them straight. Fingertips to the floor right under the shoulders. Prop up, bent knee if you need, right? Shoulders are back. We're gonna bring that right hand underneath the face, keeping the lower body where it is. Bring the left hand to the hip, and let's open around into a twist here. Rotating from the belly, turning your side ribs, that shoulder in your head anyway, is stacked on top of the right shoulder. And then we're going to release that, coming back to center and switching to the second side. So the right hand to the hip, and we rotate around. Work to keep that lower body in the middle so we're not shifting, we're not bending one knee more than the other. And the twist might not be giant, don't worry about it. Let's go ahead and release that side, and we'll inch the feet back together. So up underneath the hip bones, roughly that hand width between your feet. Let's take the hands to the thighs. We're going to press up into a half fold. Lean on the legs if you feel like you need to lean on your legs. Keeping the shoulders back and the belly working. Bending into the knees, let's come to chair. Tuck the tailbone, maybe sit a little taller. Listen to your body, hang on. You can use a wall here, right? Lean up against the wall. Hands center, or extending, or hanging on. Right? Or hips maybe on. We'll take one more breath. Inhale to stretch to the ceiling. And exhale, release it. All right. So we're back to practicing our sun salutes, right? We're going to keep where we were, but we're going to slow them down a little bit so we can explore our shoulders a little. So from the top of the mat here, inhale, stretch the arms up. Exhale, take yourself over into a fold. Inhale and come halfway up, shoulders back, bellies in. We're going to exhale, step it back into plank. Take the knees if you want and drop to the belly. So let's pause here for a second. Bringing the elbows up underneath the shoulders. So we want the elbows tucked in, middle fingers pointing forward. So you've got like train tracks with your forearms, right? Press down. So the chest lifts. Instead of having your shoulders sneak up by your ears or toward the chest, pull them back. And then imagine pulling your belly button between your elbows. Feel the extension through your spine. Tucking your tailbone if you're feeling anything in your lower back. We're going to take one more breath here. Really make it active. And then gently release back down. Hands next to the side ribs again here. Hug your elbows in. Press yourself up, back to a child's pose, maybe down dog. And then on an inhale, let's step forward, come to standing fold again. Halfway up with that next inhale. Fold back over. Reach all the way up. Exhale and release the arms. We're going to do that again, work a little deeper into those shoulders with that same position in mind. Okay? So let's inhale, stretch up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come halfway up. And then exhale, step back, plank or kneeling. All the way to the belly on that same exhalation if you can. And then pause. So the feet are flat. Press down into your feet, tuck your tailbone. The hands are going to stay next to the sides of the body with the forearms pretty vertical, hugging those elbows in. Feel the shoulders already? Okay. Roll your shoulders up by your ears together on your back, down towards your hip bones, curling the chest. Can you feel that same action in the back as we did in our Sphinx pose? And then add the pull, pulling with your belly button forward. Keep the pull You should be feeling your triceps. Maybe add a little bit of a press. Keeping the elbows to the waist, the chest is open, that same sensation in your backside. Let's release that back down. Press yourself up and back, down dog. Child's pose if you need. On the inhale, stepping the feet forward, we'll come back to our standing fold. Halfway up, back over, reaching for the ceiling, and then exhale, release. So we're going to bump that up one more time, and then you have the option of any of those positions for the shoulders once we get into that final fluid. So let's inhale up, exhale, fold. Halfway up, back to plank, and all the way down, pausing here. So the hands are next to the side ribs. Unless you're working with Cobra still, remember this is all optional, right? Press down into the feet, tuck the tailbone. Keep the elbows hugged in. We're rolling into the shoulders, curling the chest, pulling and pressing. And then maybe pressing enough that the arms come almost straight. Try not to lock your elbows. Can you lift your thighs up off the floor? Think about the back side. If you're all around and shoulders up by the ears and elbows locked, and find that middle, right? Go ahead and release it. Make your way up and back, down dog. Inhaling, step the feet forward. Halfway up on the next inhale. Exhale over into the fold. Inhale up. Exhale, release the arms. All right. So we've got one more. You've got 3 separate places to put the little shoulder opener, right? Your chest opener. So you listen to your body. Maybe you want to go big at first, so then you can go a little easier at the end. Just see what happens, right? So let's inhale, sit into a chair. And then exhale into your fold. Halfway up. Back to plank. And down to the belly. So you decide if it's a Sphinx, if it's a tiny little cobra, or if it's a full-on up dog. Okay? Releasing it, take yourself up and back to down dog. We're going to step the right foot forward into a lunge. Toes all the way up there. Heeler knee to the mat. And then reach up. Exhale, bring it back down again and step back to your down dog. Again, here we're going to slide forward for our plank. Take it to the belly. Decide how big you want this little back bend. And then release it. Up and back, down dog. And the left foot steps forward. Heeler knee to the back, or to the floor. Reaching up. And coming back down again. Step back, down dog. Last time, slide forward for plank. Take it to the belly. Open up into Cobra, Sphinx, up dog. Release it. Back to down dog. And then hold your down dog or drop on down into child's pose. Nice easy breaths wherever you are. Maybe the arms need a big rest. Or not. How are we doing, guys? One more breath in your child's pose. Lifting up into a down dog. With the inhale, stepping the feet forward into a fold. Coming halfway up with that next inhale. Exhale back over again. Inhaling into a chair. Ooh. And then exhale, release it. Moment. So we're going to take a standing balance pose here. Tree, keeping it fairly simple. Remember, there's a wall, right? If it's absolutely too much, you can lay on your backside and do tree. Right? The position of the body is the same whether you're standing or laying down. Now, of course, if you want to work your balance, you have to stand up. But if you're just trying to open up that hip, then that's what that is. So decide what you need. Change it in the middle. No one cares. No one's watching. Okay? So let's take all of the weight over into the right foot. We're going to lift the left knee. Open out the side. So the minute you start letting your hips go a little wonky, right, that's going to make it more difficult to stand. So you open wherever it opens. The foot comes to the inside of the right leg, anywhere but on your knee joint. So you can have your toe on the floor. Slide it up a little bit or a lot, avoiding the knee. And then squeeze your legs together. Think four corners of that right foot and stand tall. Hands can be at center. You can open up into traditional tree, but maybe today, see about taking those fingers behind the lower back, pulling the shoulder blades together, and then stretching the knuckles for the floor. Let the chest open. Think lifting your sternum toward the ceiling, grounding into that right foot. So again, here you can be on the floor. You can be up against the wall. Of course, like your fingers are going to get in the way a little bit. Okay? But it's still there, just in case you need it. You may not need it. So we're going to take one more breath. And then release what you got. And if you have to come in and out a million times, you do, right? Maybe you've gone too far. Maybe you're just playing with it, right? You take the toes up off the floor for a quick second. See what happens. So all the weight over into this left foot. We're going to lift the right leg, open at the knee, and bring that foot in. Again, decide where you want it. If you didn't go far enough, go a little deeper. Hug the legs toward each other, stand up nice and tall, regardless of what you're going to do with your hands. So traditional tree, maybe staying at center, hips interlacing, opening into cactus, wherever you are, so you can lift your chest toward the ceiling. Full breaths. Let's take another big breath. And then we're gently going to release what we got here. All right. So, back to 2 feet. Let's take a nice big step back with the left foot. Right toe is pointing forward, left toes are cut in just a little, right? If it's too much for your hips, bring them in a little bit more, right? But trying to keep the hips more open to the side than the front. We're going to extend the arms. Reach forward over the toes. When you can't reach forward any further, let that right hand fall and the left hand lift. Hang on, lean if you need. Otherwise, maybe just let that left arm or right arm dangle, using the belly, the sides, your breath. And then we're going to bend into the knee, resting the forearm on the thigh for right now. Let your hips descend. Watch that the knee is still stacked over the ankle. If you need to open your feet, open your feet. So you can lean with the elbow on the thigh, or maybe just like in triangle, just sort of hangs down. We're going to take one more breath here. And release it over into a lunge. So let's come up on the back toes here so the hips are square to the floor. Go ahead and drop the back knee. Start to inch your right foot forward. And it goes until it can't go any further. Wiggle around. Use a prop if you like. Okay. Watch if this front knee doesn't hyperextend. Keeping the hips as square as you can and lifting your chest, right? So yes, this is a great big hamstring stretch. But think about it as almost as if it were a back bend. So pull your shoulders down and back. Let your chest open and lift toward the ceiling. Let's take one more breath here. And then we're going to wiggle on out of that. So don't worry if it ain't pretty. So if you had a prop, move it out of the way. Come up on the back or off the back knee. And then it sounds weird, but come up on your right toes. Get a little bouncy. I like to be on my finger pads here just for some extra space underneath my body, right? And when you're bouncy enough, hop your right foot back and your left foot forward. Same move, maybe, ish, right? Adjust what didn't work out. Drop the back heel, lift the upper body, and our legs are pretty much like we want them to be for triangle. So if they're not wide enough or they didn't land in the proper place, make sure you make the adjustments. So keeping the body open to the side of the mat, we're going to stretch the arms out, reach forward, and hinge over. Lean if you must. Another nice big breath. Keeping everything else as it is, go ahead and bend that left knee. Rest the forearm on the thigh, or let that left arm just kind of dangle down. Sinking into the hips. And then let's go ahead and release it. Come over to lunge again. Dropping the back knee. Wiggling the left toes forward. So you wiggle until they're not going anymore. Find where it is over here because it could be really, really different. And again, just kind of wiggle yourself in there. Support if you need the support, right? This should be fun. So the hips are square. The chest is lifted. Think sinking your hips, but lifting your chest. We're going to take one more nice big breath. And then wiggle on out of that. It's not always pretty, is it? All right, so set the block aside, and the surprise is over. You know where we're going. So come up off that right knee. Come up on the left toes. Get bouncy. Okay. Again, if you don't make it all the way, you don't make it all the way. Hop the left foot back and the right foot forward. Maybe better, maybe not. So go ahead and step back down, dog. And drop on down into a child's pose. So when you're in a yoga class, especially if you're in a studio, a lot of times if you're struggling with a pose, the instructor can come over and offer you a variation. Right? But when you're practicing on your own, it's really up to you. So if you can make that same shape with your body in a different place, you're still getting the benefit without injuring your knee or your shoulder or whatever it might happen to be. So let's go ahead and we're going to work with pigeon. So either
come up into a down dog or roll onto your back. If you've got knee issues, maybe rolling onto your back is the thing. Right? From here, from down dog, we're going to bring the right knee behind the right wrist. And then slide the left leg long behind. Release your knee to the floor and adjust the right leg. So maybe it needs to stay exactly where it is. Maybe you can open it out to the right a little bit and bring the left toes forward. Right? So you're going to play with that until you find where your body wants to be. It's really easy to bring it really high if you shift all your weight over, but this is not pigeon, right? If there's something going on with your knee that it's just not going to happen, you roll over onto your back and bring the knee up and the shin across your chest-ish, right? That's the same stretch without the pressure of your body weight against the floor. So figure it out. And it's okay to wiggle, right? If it takes forever, even if I've moved on to something else, do what you need to do, right? So the hips are square, just as if I was laying on my back. And then you can come down if you like. Adjusting where the shin is, keeping your hips as square as you can, keeping your shoulders and spine very neutral. Right? There's a lot going on here. Take your time with it. We're going to take one more breath. Making your way out of that. So if you're on your back, we're just switching our legs. Otherwise, we have to move back to down dog. Let yourself wiggle a little bit in your neutral position. And then we'll switch to the second side. So we'll bring the left knee up. Slide the right leg back. Make it really long, drop the knee. Your foot back there can be flat or the toes tucked under, either way. And then whether you leave the knee behind the wrist or you open it and bring your toes forward, wiggle around. Remember that your back is an option. Or on the back is an option. And we're descending into it. Even after you've been in it a little while, see if you can wiggle around. Maybe you need to come out a little bit. Maybe it can be a little bit better aligned. We got one more breath on this side. And then we're gently going to make our way out of that. So let's go ahead and make our way into a child's pose. And just take a little break here. From child's pose, stretch the arms out long in front, four corners of the hands, shoulder width apart. And then we're going to slide forward and come into kneeling plank. So this is variation one of the next pose. So the belly's in, the shoulders are in this neutral position. We're going to take the left foot, leave the knee on the floor, take the foot over to the left, and open the body to the left, or to the right here. So we're in a modified side plank, okay? And you can stay here. See about bringing this right foot, step it behind your body. Of course, not on your shin over there. Tuck your tailbone under, lifting the hips, and stretching the left arm, or the right arm up. So you got dropping that right shoulder back down. Imagine rotating your hips and chest toward the ceiling. And the right arm can stay stretched up toward the ceiling or maybe alongside your ear. Take another nice big breath. And then release that side. And we'll switch to the second side. So the right foot over to the right, opening the body to the left. Same idea. So you can either stay facing more toward the side or step the left foot behind the body. Remember to tuck your tailbone. Keep that lower back nice and long. Rotating your chest, your pelvis toward the ceiling, maybe dropping that left shoulder a little bit more, bringing the arm over the ear. Play with it. Pushing away from the right hand. Keep that really active so the shoulder doesn't get all jammed up. Release that side. Back to your kneeling plank. Nice and easy. Go ahead and take yourself back into a child's pose. Take your time with it. And if that seemed like a lot of work, do that same variation again from the knees. It's the same position of your body as we're going next. So let's go ahead and lift back to down dog. So if you're on your knees, that left foot is going to move to the left, remember? Otherwise, lift the right leg, bend the knee, and trust that the toes over there are going to find the floor behind you. Try not to move too far away from the body. And yes, your right hand's going to have to come up off the floor. Doesn't work otherwise. So the same idea, tuck your tailbone, lift your chest or lift your pelvis toward the ceiling, turn your chest toward the ceiling. Ish. Feel that? Same position or similar? We're going to release that back to down dog. And work the second side. So again, remember that the knees, right, still work. Or from our down dog, lift the left leg. Bend at the knee and find the floor behind you. Turning the pelvis, the chest, reaching for the ceiling, reaching overhead-ish. And then let's make our way back to down dog or kneeling plank. And go ahead and drop the knees, gently making your way back to child's pose again. So from child's pose, we're going to slide forward out onto the belly. And then roll over onto the back. So take your time, of course. Take a moment to make sure that the spine feels aligned. We got one more back bend here. So find this neutral position where I take the feet flat to the floor. Feet pretty close to the hips, not quite touching. Hip bone distance apart. I know you can't see them, but if they're touching, that's too close. And if you feel the outsides of your hips, that's too wide, right? So you just have to find the middle. We're gonna hug the elbows in toward the sides. You can absolutely have your arms straight or bent. Keep looking toward the ceiling, making sure the back of the neck is not touching the floor. Press down into the triceps. Pull your heels towards your hips, lifting the hips away from the floor. And so a little bit might be enough. Okay? Pressing down into the floor some more, lifting the chest. Interlacing your fingers, tucking your shoulders toward each other, lifting the chest a little more maybe. Keep the tailbone turning toward the knees. Making sure you're breathing. You can also take this, if it is too much, and turn it into a resting pose, right? So if you had a block or a couple of books or even a blanket, right? You could slide it underneath the sacrum and rest. This is a lovely pose when you're resting. We're gonna take one more breath, whether you're resting or working, and then gently release what you got. Leaving the feet on the floor for a moment. Let's gently draw the knees in toward the chest and just rock. Shake out. Go ahead and take the feet flat to the floor again. Making sure the spine feels neutral. So you're even across your shoulders and hips, neutral curves in your spine. From here, extend the right leg straight up toward the ceiling. We practiced with this last week. So if you'd like to interlace your fingers behind the thigh here, the calf, if you're using a strap across the bell mound, right? Keep the shoulders back. Exhaling, pull the right leg in toward your chest a little bit. Try and keep the spine neutral. Exhale, release it. Inhale, release it, sorry. Exhale, pulling closer. Inhale, letting go. And you're gonna find a point where it's no longer the hamstring lengthening, it's everything compensating to bring the leg in. So that place just before all that compensation, right, is your edge, and that's where you want to work. So take just a couple more of those. Find the edge if you haven't already. And then extend your left arm out. This right leg is in a pretty neutral place, a little bit of a stretch, but nothing crazy. The spine is neutral. We're supporting the outside of the leg with the hand and dropping it out to the right. So support the leg. Try not to let it just fall, keeping the left hip on the floor, left knee pointing toward the ceiling. Flex the right foot, rotate your toes toward the floor and your heel toward the ceiling-ish. We're going to bring that back to center. Take it all the way across the body, placing the foot somewhere near your left hand. It doesn't have to be in it. The knee can bend. Try to relax your shoulders. Look over the right hand if you like. Take one more nice big breath here. And then bring it back up to center. Releasing the right leg. If you got a little crooked on your mat, straighten out. And then we'll switch sides. So the left leg straight up. Again, paying attention to what your backside is doing against the floor, and then finding your edge here as you pull that left leg in and out. Take your time with the breath. Taking just a couple more breaths here. Keeping that neutral position for your backside. And then finding your center. Extend the right arm out to the right, support the outside of the leg with the left hand, and let it fall left. Holding it up with the arms so that this inner hip can release and the right hip can stay on the floor. Flex the foot, rotate the toes toward the floor, heel toward the ceiling maybe. And then come on back to center. Come across the body, placing the foot somewhere near the right hand. Extending the left arm, looking over those fingertips over there. Remember, lots of variations. Take another nice big breath. And gently make your way back to the middle. Both feet to the floor, readjusting if you got a little crooked here. And then one more time, we're going to draw the knees into the chest and rock. Bring them in tight, squeeze, bringing the forehead to the knees, squeeze even more. And then release it. Take a full body stretch. Releasing that stretch. Finding your Shavasana, whether it's flat on the floor, knees bent, legs up the wall, seated meditation. Remember, make it right for you. Prop. And when the body is happy with where you've chosen, relax. Return solely to the breath, but let go of the breath. Let it do its thing. It does it on its own. Staying connected, staying present. Just giving yourself a few minutes to rest. If you'd like to stay longer in Shavasana, feel free. Otherwise, gently begin to awaken the body, deepening the breath. Maybe squeezing in again or taking another full body stretch. When you're ready, bringing the feet flat to the floor. Rolling yourself over to the side. Making your way up to a seated position. Bring the palms to touch. Bowing to that very open heart. From my heart to yours. Namaste. Thanks for practicing with me today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you have a beautiful weekend wherever you are, whatever the weather's going to do. All right, and I will see you next week. If you have comments, thoughts, questions, concerns, whatever, just give me a shout. All right, thanks, guys.